This is Nick Fuentes. If you're unfamiliar, he's a neo-Nazi, an actual full-blown Hitler-loving neo-Nazi. He went on Patrick Bet-David's program because Patrick Bet-David decided he wanted to meet in the middle and humanize people. There's a massive divide in the United States, obviously, but that divide isn't between neo-Nazis and the rest of the Republican Party. Or if it is, then that's not the one you should care about. It's between the left and the right. So I'm not sure why he thought it was like a good idea for him to come on here and say, let's heal the divide between neo-Nazis and everybody else. Great job, Patrick. Anyway, let's listen.
So I'm at this job training. They leak this out to Reagan Battalion. This goes everywhere. And it was in that moment I defended myself very strongly because they tried to use this clip. And by they, I'm talking about Ben Shapiro, Cassie Dillon, Cabot Phillips. They think they've got it. And now I'm canceled from the movement. So I took that. And, you know, of course, they're expecting you to go out and apologize. They're expecting you to go out and say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. But I said, you know what? I'm not sorry because this is a political attack. This is not some kind of good faith, you know, because you said the comment is racist. And would I phrase it that way if I was saying it in an official public capacity? No. But we tend not to do those things when we think we're in private, in confidence.
Yeah, that's the problem. You said this stuff, and now we know that you believe it. It wasn't about it being taken out of context, like they spliced it together or whatever. That's not what happened here. You believe this stuff, which is the issue.
You kind of understand that there's some discretion there. And that's not to say that I'm, you know, thought I could get away with it, but we don't.
Nope, that's exactly what it was. You thought you could get away with it, and it was revealed what you really believe, obviously.
Speak in a lawyerly way when we're among friends.
Do you believe that? You don't believe that, though.
What, that it's degenerate?
Yeah.
Of course he does. I covered a clip previously where he specifically said he's racist. He said, I am racist. It's racial for me. I don't want black people dating my children. He doesn't even have children, but just for context, one more time here.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. You know, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck.
Nick Fuentes is vile and evil and disgusting. Of course he believes this shit. Yes.
I wouldn't say it's immoral. I don't know that I would say degenerate, but I would say it's contrary to my values.
How much are you saying that in that moment because you're trying to be a shock jock and you're trying to get it?
It was obviously what he believed. Why are you giving this neo-Nazi an out? He's telling you what he believes. Believe him.
Attention.
I wasn't trying to be shock jock. Think about the question that was posed. Let's just back. I want to know what you think about this. We're in a private conversation. A girl takes her phone out, starts secretly recording.
Oh, dude, please. He is zeroed in on the fact that he was secretly recorded. So? Why does that matter? I don't understand. Why should I care about that? What does that have to do with literally anything at all? You said sleeping with black people is the same and equally as degenerate as sleeping with dogs. There is no excuse for this. Why are you even trying? Is this really the best method of dealing with these accusations? You think you should defend it?
And says, is having sex with a black man the same as having sex with a dog?
Did you know she was doing that or no?
I didn't know she was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
that's an excuse?
Listen. Yeah, you
got. What is that to you? That's a setup.
Nick, I'm talking to you in a way as if you're my nephew or my son. Not in a, don't take it as I'm this to you. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just talking to you as I'm new to this game. I'm a business guy. So I haven't been, when I hear the histories, I don't know everyone's histories. When you don't know what you're talking about, you're right. We don't know the history of everybody, but we're willing to learn. We'll talk to everybody. The way I see it, Nick, is one of my kids is very political, more than I'm political, but he's in the climate. So he's always, you know, yesterday he's at the Charlie's memorial. And this was one of the
So you tell me your kid is a neo-Nazi? Is that what you're saying? I mean, you think that's good? Or is this not like a wake-up call to you? That this is like an evil, bad movement that you should be concerned? I don't understand.
Most difficult days of his life, witnessing Charlie pass away. I've never seen him. This is a very strong kid. 30 minutes on my shoulders going because of what happened with Charlie. He's sitting right there at the event, listening to everything for 5 hours. And he's loving it. It's not like, oh my God, I want to go home. I'm tired. Can we eat? Can we do this? He's all in it. The way I look at you and the way I look at Charlie is one of my kids is probably going to pursue this route, and he's going to go into politics.
Pursue the route of Nick Fuentes?
And I think you have an opportunity to mentor them to learn from the mistakes you made. Because whether you know it or not, you got a lot of kids that follow you, okay?
Wow. Patrick Bet-David brought Nick Fuentes on, I'm assuming, because his kid follows him. That's rough, dude. Damn. And Bet-David is like giving him this platform. He's giving him this attention. He's helping Nick Fuentes. This is unforgivable. He's a Nazi. Okay, I mean a real Nazi with real Nazi beliefs. This is not a fucking game. This is a dude that says that Hitler should have killed more Jews. I don't understand how you can justify this shit. Patrick, what is wrong with you? Did you not learn about the Holocaust? What? I don't understand.
More than they follow me. There's more 13-year-olds following you than they're following me. This is not sarcasm. It's not a shot. I'm just the truth, right? Just like you were following maybe somebody and looking up at them. I think you got to be careful, but I also think it comes with the territory. You know, like when I was growing up, I was hanging out with gangsters in LA. And I remember one day I'm in Vegas, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the street with a 15-year-old kid that's driving a car, and he's got a gun that I don't know he's got a gun. Guys pull up here to our left, handful of African-American guys. Where are you from, homie? Where are you from? He pulls out the gun. From New York. Boom, boom. I'm 15 years old. We're out there running in the streets of Vegas. Guess what? You got to be careful who you get in the car with. That could have been the last day of my life. Mm-hmm. Somehow I made it. I go upstairs. My dad see me. My heart's like shaking. That was the risk then. I don't know if so much of that is the risk today. The risk is what you just did. You got to be careful what you're saying.
Well, it's not that he's got to be careful with what he's saying. Now we know what he believes and what he's willing to say. It is now on you, Patrick Bet-David, to be careful what you allow people to say on your platform. Why did you invite him? What is wrong with you?
That comes with certain, backlash and responsibility. But I also think, and this is going to give me some in trouble.
Oh, you're such a victim. Oh, you're so victimized by everybody around you.
I also think we should be forgiving. I also think we should be forgiven for Ben writing that as well as you saying it. I also think it needs to be like, listen, yeah, I mean, maybe he said this. I don't know his up.
Okay, cool. So are you forgiving of the people who supposedly cursed Charlie Kirk on Etsy or whatever, on that Jezebel website? They paid some Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk and it was a joke, and so they're forgiven? Is that right? You're forgiving them for speech? Or are you just forgiving people on the right?
I'm trying to find that mom, dad. I've seen some stuff with mom and what some of the stuff she said, and maybe it's the influence from grandma. It's not. It's Mark Levin. It's not like you had a racist person. I don't see that. But we also have to be a little bit forgiving, because if we don't and we stoke it more, you're going to get worse and worse and worse. Right? The next person is going to want to get even more and more radical. Let's go past this one. If you don't mind.
I just want to say one thing,
please,
if I can, because I hear you and I agree with you. And I try to tell my followers now, I shake my head when my followers are trying to be edgy or edgelording, trolling, whatever. I totally agree. And I try.
Yeah, that's true. It's because he wants mainstream influence, and he can't have that mainstream influence if his followers are being little nutcases, basically, and saying the N-word constantly. So he's trying to make it more like, he's trying to calm them down and try to make them more presentable, basically, it seems to me. And he denounces violence and all the stuff you're supposed to do as a mainstream figure on the right, officially, because he wants to spread his Nazi views that Hitler did not go far enough.
To be a better role model now. And in politics, you do got to be careful what you say, because you're right, and everybody's always watching. The only reason I say that is to kind of paint a picture from my entire 18th year on Earth. I'm an 18-year-old college freshman. It's not like I was out here being problematic, being hateful, being a monster. It's that a decision was made that I had the wrong views. And because I had the wrong...
Well, you do have the wrong views, Nick. You believe that sleeping with black people is as degenerate as sleeping with dogs. Obviously. And this isn't a problem of you were an idiot back then and you've apologized. This is a problem of somebody recorded you and showed the world who you really are. Who you still really are.
views, there was a basically ceaseless political attack, which is, you know, I make a tweet about the double standard on Israel and Shapiro's amplifying that. I have a show and someone's calling my boss saying, get this guy fired. Maybe they're collaborating with the left to get me fired, up to and including strangers that I don't even really know are secretly recording me, setting me up. The point is they made a decision, this guy's got to go, and they said, we're going to use in a careless remark to take the guy out. So, you know, people see, here's a guy that said a bad thing.
I don't support that.
And and I'm not saying you do. I'm just explaining that's the side that a lot of people don't see. They see the bad remark. They don't see the calculation.
And that's why I'm having these questions with you. And by the way,
oh, give it a rest, dude. This is honestly, truly, seriously, deeply fucking disgusting. Like really, really disgusting that PBD would allow such a thing or allow such a person on his network to spread these lies like this. Vile.
Appreciate that.
I wish this podcast existed because I don't know if there's one where someone's asking you for people to know how did you become the way you became.
Exactly.
That's why I wanted to take this approach with you. But let me go here and hold you accountable a little bit. And again, feel free to push back. I'm comfortable with it. You're 27. You're no longer 18.
True.
So when you go a week ago and you're like, you don't need to do it. Here's why you don't need to do it.
He does it because he believes it, of course. Obviously.
Dropping the N-word. Some of the words that you drop. I don't mind the F word, you know, shit and all this stuff. I drop it all the time. I try not to drop it on camera, but I'm also not sitting here telling you I walk on water. And I say all the words, and I listen to hardcore hip hop. I listened to a lot of hardcore hip hop growing up. That
hardcore hip hop. Okay, wow. What a rebel.
Was my taste of music. I don't know if it was yours. It was for me. For a person who knows how to communicate as well as you do, when you use those words, you get an average person to question your intelligence. And you don't need to do that. You're above that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick already resolved that he's not going to say the N-word anymore. He said this forever ago. Why are you even arguing this right now? This is like a waste of time.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
You're so talented. Why go there? Now, if you tell me, Pat, I'm just doing it because I don't want anybody like you to tell me that I can shut up because I've gone through them. Fair, fine. You want to do that. I would just say, I want to show you something. Rob, can you pull up you ever read the book Power versus Force?
No.
Okay. So this book, Power versus Force, I read it like 23 years ago. I was 23 years old when I read it. Yeah, it had a very, very big impact on my life. The guy breaks it down on what types of leaders eventually get to a certain level of consciousness that they gain power naturally and they truly become a positive force to the world. Like, I believe Charlie's a positive force to the world.
Well, you're incorrect. Charlie Kirk was not a positive force in the world. Unless you're trying to get into a world that looks just like Nick Fuentes' understanding of it. Unless you're trying to get into a world of effectively white supremacy, like of neo-Nazi beliefs. That's the only context in which Charlie Kirk was a positive force. I don't know. Nobody can argue that. That's not possible to argue with. He was trying to create a white supremacist world, obviously.
To me, I had, believe it or not, Charlie at #1 spot. He's my #1 draft pick. If I'm building a super team, he's my #1 guy. No one was above Charlie. And there's a lot of guys, okay? No one. I respect all of them. I think they're very capable. But I thought Charlie was unique because of one specific reason. In this thing, he explains where if you look at all the way to, you see the third row where it says level. Mm-hmm. So go all the way down to the level. You see where it says shame. Mm-hmm. So shame. Like I have relatives who are driven by shame. They're so tough to be around. They're living a tough life. That's not you. Guilt. I can't believe what I did 10 years ago. And they keep reliving this guilt. It's not you. Apathy. It's not you. Grief.
Map of consciousness. I've never heard of this before. What is this? God view, life view, level, scale, emotion process. I've never heard of this.
That's not you. Guilt. I can't believe what I did 10 years ago. And they keep reliving this guilt. It's not you. Apathy. It's not you. Grief. That's not you. Fear. I don't think that's you. Desire. I don't know if that's you. Anger, pride. Maybe. I was probably a fear, desire, women. And I was the one that wasn't as disciplined as you. I was very undisciplined when it came down to women. I just couldn't stop it.
Oh my God, please. There's nothing wrong with having a girlfriend or a wife or whatever. Get a grip on reality, people, please.
Was my vice that it wasn't video games, it wasn't porn, it wasn't gambling, it was women. So then you go to anger, pride, right? Pride. Screw you, you know. Okay, no problem. Then comes courage. That's the first level of consciousness where you're entering. I think you have it. You have the courage to share there's a lot of risk in sharing your opinion. But then you go to neutrality, and then you have, which is, let me hear both sides out, and let me see what's going on. Then you're willing to speak to everybody. I actually think you're willing to speak to anybody. I wouldn't say you're not willing to speak to anybody. And then you got acceptance that we're different. And then you got reason, and then you got love. I actually believe Charlie was at reason and love. And I don't think...
Then you live in a delusion. I played this earlier, but I'll play it again since it's relevant now. I played the beginning part of this. Let me jump into a different part. Listen to this.
I mean, it deserves to die? That's two totally different things. Of course not. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact.
No, it isn't.
No such thing as white privilege or racism. So black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. Black people can come up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you going to do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, I'm a grown man, I got way black people are allowed. Skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. This guy is not worthy of a national holiday. There's a mythology around MLK that does not warrant the reverence that he gets treated with in America. We have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time. Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a bad guy in this dude's head. And you're complaining about people talking about race? That's like one of his key issues. He's giving a racist dog whistle when he passed away.
More than the American founding. The country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. The death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI. Ketanji Brown Jackson is what your country looks like on critical race theory.
Is he pronouncing her name incorrectly on purpose?
You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian. Ketanji Brown Jackson is an embodiment of the tyranny that we currently live on. She's an ideological, unintelligent, yet confident fanatic. Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? So she wants...
Disgusting, dude. Like, really awful stuff, honestly. So I don't know what you're talking about. When you think he was a moderate, he was not.
Anybody in the movement is at reason and love. I don't think anybody else. This is my opinion, what I process this. When I watch you and I see what direction you're going and what your upside is, my only feedback on this topic that we're having, consider this feedback from a person who's never spoken. You and I, just audience notes, how many times have you and I spoken?
0.
Have we ever DM'd each other?
Never, no.
Have we had a phone call with each other?
Never.
By the way, I think this is very important for the audience to know this. The guy paid for his own flight. We pay for your flight to come down here. We pay for your driver. We pay for your hotel. Didn't let do that. I actually respect that. That was your way of saying, hey, I don't want anybody to say this. I just came here. Whether it's because of safety reason, whatever, I respect all of it. The fact that he did that. And I think the audience needs to do that. Know that because they need to know where your character lies.
We know where his character lies. He's a scumbag. He's a Nazi, a literal Hitler-loving, Sieg-heiling Nazi. Says that Hitler didn't go far enough, that he should have killed more people.
All I'm saying is, pump the brakes a little bit. And
walking my dog Dio with headphones. That was pretty loud. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. Dio, good name for a dog, for sure.
Here's why. I wouldn't mind coming back to the story, but we can transition back to this because I still want to know the history.
I have a soundboard over here on the right, and I try to regulate the audio volume with it.
Let's go back on what happened this week with...
Not
this week, 12 days ago, I think it is now.
Try to keep it roughly in the same kind of quadrant or whatever.
Charlie Kirk, right? And you know what clips are going viral with you. A month ago, you're calling out, what do you call it? Turning Point USA. And I don't know what you said, but you said it. You know what it is. You can fill in the context on what you said, right? I'm not going to play the clip. But you were saying something. It's the clip where you're at the top and the other one's at the bottom, right? What you said before, and now it's like, hey, listen, Charlie was a Christian. He was trying to do this. You were very complimentary about Charlie. Okay. And Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And you've had death threats of people coming to your door. right?
He has. Yep. I've played it. And it was this one girl came to his door to harass him and he pepper sprayed her.
And things happening. How much has the last 12 days, because, at first they're like, well, it's Israel. You're like, no, it's not Israel. You're actually a person that I would have thought would have been the first to go there. You actually said, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah, Candace Owens is saying that Israel killed him, and Stu Peters and some others. Nick Fuentes is much more reasoned and logical and less conspiracy-brained than Candace Owens, for example. But that makes him more dangerous, in my opinion, because he has more credibility as a result.
Charlie, Nick is a Fed. All right. This person CIA. All right. That kind of went away. Didn't have a long lifespan. It's gone. Hey, it's the Groypers that did it. It's it was out of the 13 questions, 11 were Groper, whatever the number was. I may be wrong. I don't want to, go fact check me on what the numbers, but I read somewhere that a number of the people that asked the question were Groypers. Groypers asked me a question when I was at Amphis.
I think he's talking about when Charlie Kirk did an event. Nick Fuentes had a Groper Wars thing going on, is what he called it. And they basically went to his Charlie Kirk's event and harassed him. They got up there and asked 15 questions to show that he's not as far right as they want him to be. Maybe I can find that. I think I found it. Yeah.
My question is largely directed to...
Okay, yeah, I got it here. This is at a Charlie Kirk event. Groyper's asking Charlie Kirk questions.
Is largely directed to Mr. Kirk because you were raised as a conservative. Part of the issue I see here is, what's your name, Rob? Yeah. So you're saying, you're behind the times, this isn't conservative. Well, we don't want centrists in the conservative movement. We want to retain our core values.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
We don't want drag.
But here's the thing. It's not about what you want.
We don't want drag.
But here's the thing. It's not about what you want.
Theologically, the antagonism between Jews and Christians goes all the way back to the time of the crucifixion.
I remember this guy. Wait, he argued something wild. Wasn't this guy arguing that touching yourself turns you gay or something, and he's arguing it seriously? My God, there's construction going on outside. It's driving me insane right now. God.
The Gospels tell us that the Jews were hiding in the upper room. That the apostles were hiding in the upper room out of fear of the Jews. So the fear, the antagonism has gone from the beginning all the way up to the present day. Because the Jews, in rejecting Christ, rejected Logos, and in rejecting Logos, they became a permanent revolutionary group.
I think Logos, isn't that a form of love, a word for love or something like that? I don't remember.
That is spreading a revolutionary ferment throughout the world to this day. So it was Bolshevism at one point, it's Zionism at another point, it's neoconservatism at another point.
Given that your interpretation of traditional conservative values stems from 1965 on immigration and 2015 on race, I'd like to know, how long do we have to wait until child drag shows are pushed as American traditional conservatism?
And now in the state of Indiana, we have just witnessed an attack in the name of homosexual marriage. This is the latest Jewish front in the culture wars.
Somebody outside a protester was asking about the term culture war. It's got a long history, started late 1800s, Otto von Bismarck, Culture Kampf.
Otto von Bismarck was I believe the Chancellor of Germany, or the leader otherwise, before, during Wilhelm II's reign. He was the Chancellor. Wilhelm was the Kaiser, the Emperor or whatever, the leader.
Late 1990s, mid 1990s, it was reclaimed by conservatives. One of those being E. Michael Jones, who actually started this magazine, Culture Wars magazine.
And I say this not because I'm anyone to listen to, but the Vice President of the United States said this in a speech he gave in May of 2013, praising the Jews for their role as cultural revolutionaries, and especially praising them for their role in promoting gay marriage.
Because of E. Michael Jones' groundbreaking work, we now understand that sexual liberation is political control. It's a form of political control. And you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
This is the state.
So the point is, they were coming at him from the right. They were fighting Charlie Kirk from the right. That's what they're referencing here. They did not like him. The Gropers did not like Charlie Kirk at all.
The guy got up and said, how come you've never had Nicholas J. Fuentes on? And I said, he's got to stop saying the N-word. And this is when you kind of came back and reacted to the video. How are you processing this with Charlie Kirk? I've seen the tweets, I've seen the videos, but how are you processing this?
Well, on a personal level, it's terrifying, you know, as he was out there and he got blown away doing what we all do, which is a public event or something like that. And of course, the same thing happened to me last year. Somebody came to my door with a gun while I was doing my show and tried to kill me.
I don't think that's the case. I remember there being video of a girl walking up and harassing him. I don't think she had a gun and was trying to kill him. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
And so you realize we do really have a problem in the country with this kind of violence. That was kind of the first level. My first reaction is I didn't know if this was some lone nut job. Is there some kind of coordinated attack? If there would be copycats or something. But then on a deeper level, and people are calling me a hypocrite because I had complimentary things to say about Charlie, even though he was my adversary in politics. But I don't see it as a contradiction. I disagreed with him. I still disagree with the things he said. And my views on him from a professional point of view hasn't changed. What I have processed is the reaction to the killing from all of his fans and from people. You see that millions of people were touched by his activism. And I looked at his activism in a very one-dimensional way, which is that he's pro-Trump, he's pro-Republican, he's pushing the talking points. We would call it Talking Points USA. That was kind of the joke.
TPUSA Talking Points.
Right, Talking Points. You know, his job is to go out there and sell, you know, the party. But seeing the outpouring of support, I mean, I saw a lot of young people that were emotional. Young men, young women going to the vigils and actually distraught. And I think they were distraught, one, because it was so evil what was done to him. To see that kind of violence was really upsetting. But also I think people were touched because Charlie Kirk, it does put things in perspective when a person dies. I don't believe he was a bad man. I disagreed with him. I didn't like his politics. But what I have come to respect about him is that he was a very hard worker. He was kind. You noticed that when he talked to people he didn't like or disagreed with. He was open to other people. He changed his mind, even when he dealt with me. And he was never particularly nice to me, let's just say. But he was to a lot of people. And maybe more than anything, the thing that touched people the most was his testimony of his faith, that he believed in God. And, you know,
of course, Nick Fuentes is Catholic, so
I didn't like what he advocated for politics, but what he advocated for Christianity. That's the part that people are going to remember him for. That's the part that people, when they think Charlie Kirk, they don't think of the Republican debate bro. They think about a guy that was preaching marriage.
No, you know what they're going to remember Charlie Kirk for, in all seriousness? The MAGA movement is really very small in the United States. It's like 30% at most. And this Charlie Kirk thing may have pushed more people over to the right than there were previously. But it's still small at the end of the day. The MAGA movement is. The Nazi Party was very small in Germany as well. It was 15-20%, arguably, of true believers. And then varying degrees of belief from there on. So it doesn't take much to take control, but, you know, there's so much disgust at what the Republican Party, what MAGA has done, that denazification is inevitable. It is going to happen. It is. Next time a Democrat takes control, which will happen. I mean, Ben Shapiro knows that's going to happen. Nick Fuentes knows that's going to happen. Everybody knows Democrats are going to take control. Ted Cruz even said something about it recently. It's going to happen, right? And when that happens, denazification is going to take place. Bet on it. And when denazification takes place, Charlie Kirk's legacy is going to be viewed as what it was. He's going to be viewed as the Horst Wessel of our time, or Horst Wessel. If you're unfamiliar with the term, the Horst Wessel is the name of a person. That was his name. First name Horst, last name Wessel. And he died in 1930. He was shot by some dude who had a dispute with him over his landlord because he didn't pay rent or something, and it was like a lot of money that he owed, and he had some really seedy connections to the underground. He was living with a prostitute, which was really, really frowned upon at the time, heavily, by kind of, traditionalist people, if you will. And he was also a member of the Nazi Party. And when he died, Horst Wessel, this guy, Wessel, when Horst Wessel died in 1930, his reputation was completely rewritten. His seedy connections were erased. The guy that killed him was a communist. His landlord was also a communist, but that had nothing to do with anything. Like, they weren't doing it for political reasons like that. It was a dispute over rent. Thousands of dollars in today's money, I imagine. When they rewrote his history, his story, he became like a martyr. He became a martyr. He was a hero to the Nazi Party. They framed him up like he died for the cause, doing the right thing, and he was killed by communists. It was identical to this. Killed by the communist left for just having some opinions. Charlie Kirk, is Horst Wessel, is the Horst Wessel of our time. And when Denazification came along, the song that Horst Wessel wrote, it was called Horst Wessel Lied, or Horst Wessel Song. That song was banned and is currently banned in Germany permanently because of how it was used for propaganda over the decades. Charlie Kirk is going to be viewed as monstrous and evil and a contributing factor to the fall of democracy in the United States when the time comes. In my opinion, that's probably what's going to happen. For, whether you like him or not, better or worse, I believe that's what's going to happen. His legacy is not going to be positive. It's just not.
Values, decent Christian values. Christ himself and his sacrifice on the cross, he was Protestant, I'm Catholic. And when they held the memorial yesterday, I'm going to tell you the truth, I thought there were things about the memorial that were distasteful. But one thing that was exceptional about it is the way that the name of Christ was proclaimed to everybody. And I think that, when you see someone die like that, the reason it's jarring for people is because we realize that we're all going to die suddenly, unexpectedly. And like him, he's 31 years old. Nobody expects that a 31-year-old with that kind of money and influence is going to die all of a sudden. I
believe Horst Wessel was somewhere around that age as well.
Plans. He was going to get on his private jet and fly to do another event some other time. Nobody expects that you're going to die, someone like that at that age. And when you see someone like that cut down so viciously, you realize how life is so fragile and it's so temporary and it's so short. Any day we could all die.
Yep, it's true.
And what that then naturally makes us think about is, well, what does it all really mean then? If you could get stopped in your tracks at any time like that, what actually really matters in life? And what mattered about Charlie, when you see in the end, is it's not actually the times when he was maybe taking the piss and saying, what is a woman? It's the times when he was sincerely professing his faith, talking about moral virtues and the moral virtues that he lived in his deeds. And so to me, I guess it was a change in perspective, kind of realizing everybody asks the same question, how will I be remembered? When we get unexpectedly killed or when we die or when bad things happen. And it's a challenge to kind of live every day thinking.
Part of denazification is going to involve giving an honest account of these people's reputation, and instead of the propagandistic, twisted framing that they produced. Nick Fuentes is going to be remembered as what he was, a Nazi. And Patrick Bet David is going to be remembered as what he was, a Nazi enabler. At a bare minimum, a Nazi adjacent foghorn that allowed people to use him to spread Nazi ideas. The moral arc of the universe bends toward justice. That's true. It does. The moral arc of the universe bends toward justice, but we have to force it that way. It doesn't just do that. It's hard. We have to fight. We have to protest. We have to get out there and do something about it. We have to make sure that that's how it goes. But it does go that way. You know why? Because living in an authoritarian state is a nightmare. It sucks. Everybody in this broad demographic loves it. And then fewer people love it. And fewer and fewer and fewer. And as time goes on, the only people that really love it anymore are those at the very top of the regime, the oligarchs, if you will. Those are the only ones, because it's miserable for everyone else. You think you're going to reproduce this little town, this little white town that exists where everybody, go as a community, they go down, they hold fairs and they have a good time and hang out with each other. They all go to the same church and everything else. That's all fine and dandy, but that's not how it works in real life. Nobody is safe in an authoritarian regime. Nobody, not even you, Nick. People are targeted by authoritarian regimes for stepping out of line even a little bit. And if your dumbass thinks that you're safe, then good luck. Have a good time with that one.
Could today be the day, and what did I do on my final day? How did I act? Did I tell the truth? Was I courageous? Was I kind? Not just to my friends and my family, but also to my enemies. So I think it brought people to the center a little bit, centered in a spiritual sense.
Did you at all watch it yesterday where you had moments of sitting there saying, this was a good guy, man. Shit, I wish I would have changed the approach with our relationship. Did you at all have that moment?
I don't know that I would have changed my approach, because politics is vicious, and that's just the game. He was vicious to us. We were vicious to him.
It doesn't need to be like that. Like, it can be more honest and good faith and calm, and should be. In a democracy, a healthy democracy, it is. But I get Nick just doesn't understand what the temperature, quote unquote, is, or how it works, or why it should be lowered. You can have honest debate without having a high temperature. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is disgusting.